A closing party. Halfway through July, the president called me over just as we were about to finish our club activities. She wanted to talk about celebrating the third year's retirement by planning a closing party. I didn't remember the past year's third years having one when they retired. It didn't seem to be a tradition or anything like that. What did you want to do for it, exactly? Oh, I figure we just go out and eat and do karaoke. Karaoke? Because we were the choir club, I supposed. Even though I knew the word, I still felt a little cautious. I think we'd be out too late if we go after school, so I was planning on having everyone get together Saturday or Sunday. But you've got a long way to go by train, right, Saki? What would you prefer? I hesitated a little. It was the third year's retirement party, not ours, after all. It didn't seem like the president was going to force me to go either. You can let me know tomorrow, she told me as she walked away. I wondered what to do as I picked up my bag. I'd be happy if you came, Sayaka-chan. Ah! I wasn't quite as shocked as when it happened last time. But Senpai had appeared out of nowhere again. Won't you come out and have fun with us? Senpai, don't tell me. I felt like I had experienced this particular sequence of events before. It's just, you know, the senpai faltered, and then continued in a hushed voice. My sense of déjà vu intensified. The truth is, Sayaka-chan, you never been to a karaoke before, right? When I predicted what she was about to say, Senpai frowned grumpily. But then she sighed. No, I haven't. Where exactly have you been before, Senpai? I asked her that as a joke. But to my surprise, she thought about it seriously. Then her gaze started to drift away. Convenience stores? Then you'll be fine. I think. The truth was, I hadn't gone to karaoke before either. I'd be so happy if you came though, Sayaka-chan. She grinned. Her smile pointed right at my face like the barrel of a gun. You just told me that. I'm nervous, alright? Even now, she seemed like she was about to latch on to the sleeve of my uniform. Was it somehow less scary if I was around? I was starting to grow concerned about what she thought I was. Karaoke is... well, you just have fun singing there. It's the same as the choir club. I hadn't gone before either, so I was purposefully vague. I knew there was a karaoke place in front of the station, and I occasionally saw girls in school uniforms go into it. I more or less thought of it as a place that had nothing to do with me though, so I never really paid attention. I suspected that was probably the same way for Senpai, too. I want to sing with you, Sayaka-chan. Senpai suddenly lit up, as though she had discovered her saving grace. Aren't we always singing together? Yeah, but that's over now. She straightened up from her usual slight slouch, which made her height just a bit taller than mine. This might be the last time I get to do anything with you, Sayaka-chan. Such an unfair card to play, I thought. People have a weak spot when it comes to endings. Nothing motivates people to prioritize things more than knowing they won't ever happen again. If I were to try to ignore her, I'd end up feeling strange and restless, as though something were being taken from my heart. I suppose if I don't have anything I need to do at home, I relented a little, exposing a bit of my weakness as I gave an indecisive answer. When I really thought about it, I didn't have any reason not to go. other than that it was slightly inconvenient. If something as silly as that was making me drag my heels, then maybe going for senpai's sake wasn't such a bad reason. In the end, I ended up attending the closing party, because of senpai's invitation. Through the haze of sleep, I heard some sort of skittering sound. Listening with my eyes closed, I realized it was the sound of rain. It's raining, huh? It took a moment before the information really sank in. When it finally did, I sat up with a start. Getting out of bed and opening the curtain, I saw rain pelting down hard on the trees in the garden. This is terrible. Of course, this would happen on the one day that I was actually planning to go out. I tuned in on the weather report on the news. When I heard that the rain was unlikely to let up, I felt a lead weight settling over me. It felt like my bangs and eyelashes were already soaked with rain, even though they had yet to feel a drop. This is such a drag. The negativity that I thought I had dispelled reared its ugly head again. As I sighed, a cat peeked into my room from the hallway beyond the sliding door. It looked at me, so I looked back at it, but then it immediately lost interest and wandered away. If I were still in elementary school, I probably would have gone after cat right away, but now I just watched it leave. What about me had changed, other than my height? How had time transformed my identity? Well, the urge to stay inside on rainy days certainly hasn't changed, I thought, as I absent-mindedly took in the scene. Regardless, I got ready and put on my shoes. Are you going out? Standing at the front entrance, with a cat in her arms, my grandmother called out to me. Those cats were always on their best behavior with my grandmother. Maybe they understood who their owner was. Yeah, for club stuff. Don't stay out too late. Okay. She sounded more like a mother than a grandmother. I took an umbrella off the shelf and told her, I'll be off then. Since it was such a rainy Saturday, I didn't pass many people on the way to the station. I felt strange without the weight of my school bag in my hands, or the scarf from my school uniform swinging at my chest. And cold water splashed my ankles from time to time. The sticky heat that was characteristic of summer in Japan gradually surrounded my body, only compounding my discomfort. The sound of rain was very different under the umbrella than it was all around me. Outside the umbrella, it was harsh, but underneath, it sounded quieter. It was like slowly forcing my way through a waterfall. When I got to the station, I went through the ticket gate, as always, and boarded a train that had just arrived at the platform. There were significantly fewer people riding on the train compared to the weekdays during prime commuting hours, and the air conditioning inside the train car was working all the better for it. I felt relieved. It had been a while since I had been able to get a seat on the morning train. I opened the book I had brought with me to pass the time until my arrival, wondering when I had last travelled in the group. It might have been during an elementary school trip. Where did we go back then, anyway? As my thoughts wandered, the words seemed to drift off the page, eluding my focus. Before I could quite recall everything, the train arrived at my stop. I closed the book and got off the train. We had agreed to gather in front of the station. As I went through the ticket checker, wondering where they would be, someone immediately called to me. Sayaka-chan! Senpai waved her hand at me, gesturing to the others. A group of my fellow students, was gathered next to the large square pillar. After a bowing greeting, Senpai walked over to collect me, wearing casual clothes instead of a school uniform. Her smile made it seem like I was the only one she had really wanted to see. She approached me with such a momentum that I thought for a moment she was going to grab my hand at once. Wow, you're not in uniform, Sayaka-chan! She broke out into a smile, looking grateful. Wait, grateful? Well, regardless, she was certainly happy. It's my first time seeing you in casual clothes. You too, senpai. She wore a plain shirt printed with cute English letters, but they were so stylized, I couldn't read them. You look even more grown up out of your uniform. For some reason, Senpai was acting almost like she was proud of the sight of me. It wasn't like she had picked my clothes. I wondered what that was about, as I gave the same answer again. You too, senpai. She probably could have passed for a high school student in that moment. It reminded me that she really was older than me. We headed over to join everyone else. It wasn't just third years at the meeting location. I saw second years like myself, and even first years. It seemed just about everyone had come in the end. If I had been the only one absentee, it might have looked bad. Senpai's invitation had ended up saving me. Looks like everyone's here, so let's head over. The president led the way. The third years were at the front, then the second years, then the first. We solidified into a neat little line as we went. Senpai was with the third years, of course, but she was towards the back and walking alone. Occasionally, my eyes met hers as she looked over her shoulder. Where are we going? I asked now the second year next to me. She tucked her hair behind her ear as she spoke. A family restaurant near the karaoke place, they said. A family restaurant, huh? I imagined a bright, flamboyant sign that was far too easy to spot. Of course, the rain poured down on us as we walked from the station to the family restaurant. Our raised umbrellas were mismatched, with all kinds of colors and patterns. From above, they might have looked like blooming flowers, all moving in a straight line. That struck me as a rather unnerving image. The restaurant was less than 5 minutes' walk from the station. The back of the station was in the opposite direction from school, so it was the first time I had seen this place. The entrance was somewhat cramped. The restaurant nestled in a gap between buildings and up a flight of stairs. I closed my umbrella, while the third and second years flowed inside one after another. Senpai came to stand next to me, away from that flow. So, Sayaka-chan, it's your first time, isn't it? It sure is. This was the third time it had happened, so Senpai's smile was more sheepish than ever. Senpai had always given a youthful impression, and by now I could more or less guess the reason. It was as if Senpai had born in the exact image of what a sheltered rich girl would be. In my mind, I silently responded, mine too. My working parents were seldom both at home, so we rarely had the opportunity to go out and eat as a family. For the time being, I tried to keep myself from staring around more than Senpai as we went up the stairs. The inside of the restaurant was bright, as though it were isolated from the overcast skies outside. It was packed with rows and rows of booth seating, just like the restaurants I had seen on TV. My eyes started to wander, but I restrained myself. Outside the window was the pouring rain and the worn-out grey building next door. It almost looked like a decal had been applied to the glass. Since it was so bright, It felt as if there were nowhere to hide or catch a breath, which I found unsettling. As we started to choose empty seats, according to class years, Senpai remained by my side. Grade levels didn't matter to her, it seemed. I was about to say something, but Senpai just smiled softly at me, so I ended up biting my tongue.